everybody. My name is Kathy Robert, and this is my YouTube channel, Awakening Waves. This particular channel is about my spiritual journey, about my journey through a nervous breakdown, or what they'll call I don't know what they call it, lifequake, or the dark night of the soul. Although those two are very different. I actually have the definitions. So lifequake is more of a psychological thing, and that is where you have like a major life disruption. It forces a personal evolution or a drastic change. It acts as a catalyst for resilience rather than a negative disruption. And when you're fully in it, it doesn't feel like it's anything but a negative disruption. Then there's the dark night of the soul, and that's with your spiritual folk like myself. It's defined as a profound spiritual or existential crisis by severe loss of meaning, hope, acting as a painful and transformative journey toward a renewal of consciousness. And that came from, Mr. Google says it came from the Cosmos Journal, and Lifequake came from dictionary.com. The differences between the two is what kind of trigger you would have is that there's an external trigger for the lifequake. And then the dark night of the soul is usually spiritual rather than psychological. But in my case, it was kind of both. I was having a lifequake and a dark night of the soul, and I liken it to like when I was pregnant. I had morning, noon, and night sickness. The dark night of the soul is not just one night. It's a long time. Now, what happened is someone I thought that I was building a life with died suddenly, and it caused me to go into a complete freeze, at least for a couple weeks. And beyond that, I had a functional freeze, and I've been pretty much in that functional freeze. This video and the one before is actually me stepping through that door, and it's been next month it'll be 3.5 years. It's taken me a long time, and I've had to take a very deep look about myself in all this. I had a pivotal moment though in that first couple of months. I was panicking because I had no idea how I was going to get heating oil into this house. And this pivotal moment led me to this concept of there's a difference between reaction and response. In my case, I was reacting to pressure to get a job after that little bit of time. It wasn't even 2 months later. I had a job lined up before all this happened. And just quickly, I was a stay-at-home mother from 2006 forward. I have not really, that's a whole other conversation. But before I had this event, I had a job lined up. But I was so traumatized, so devastated, that it felt like my life had been blown up, nuclear wasteland. There was just fog and dust and nothing to be seen. And at this point in December, I was starting to come back to a little bit more. Like I had responsibilities. I had children living in my house. My youngest was 14 at that time. I also had my young granddaughter living with her mother in the house and my middle child. And I had a responsibility for them, but I was in a very difficult place. And at this moment, I was panicking about how I'm going to heat this house because it's expensive to buy oil if you don't know. I think most people do. 3 something a gallon more often than not. That leads to almost $1,000 worth of oil. And I didn't know how I was going to do that. But I found something at that moment when I was having that complete panic attack. I called out and I said, God, I don't know what to do. I need help. I need help. How am I supposed to do this? Help me, please. And I took a breath and I'm sitting on the edge of my bed. And I happened to look over to my bedside table. And I had this little book. It's called, excuse me, Bedside Blessings by Charles Swindoll, as in Swindoll, D-O-L-L. And it is, if you see, it has dates. So it has the date of every day of an entire year. No specific year. It's one of those things that you can go back to every year. Start fresh on January 1st and continue. And I looked at this thing, and at that moment I was being pressured by some people whose perspective of me was not the best. And their perspective of me would trigger me. I always felt pressured. I didn't feel like I was really being understood, even though we understand what you're going through, but. And that wasn't very supportive, really. And when I had that and I read this thing, and it basically helped me take a step back and away from that moment. And that pivotal moment was a learning experience for me, because I was able to use this every time I start to feel triggered. Because when you find out, I shouldn't say when you find out, I should say, like, I was able to pull back and understand where these people were coming from and what their perspective of me and what they expected of me from that perspective was not the same perspective I had of myself. The thing is about this is that there's two things that happens when you have a panic attack. You need to calm down. You need to calm your body down, because now your body is in full-fledged flight, fight, or fawn, right? And in this case, it was like freeze. That was freeze, fight, flight, freeze, fawn. I don't know. I'd have to look that up, unless one of you want to tell me in the comments. I went into like practically freezing. I just didn't know what to do. I couldn't think straight. If I were asked to do something at that moment, I wouldn't know what to do. I wouldn't have known. So what I did through this advice is I was able to sit on my bed, all the way on my bed, and lay down and just concentrate on my breath. And then I concentrated on what I could hear and the softness of my pillow. And there's this thing that you can do to help yourself kind of break away from that intense, like hamster on a wheel in your brain. That doesn't come up with anything helpful, because all it's doing is it's trying to protect you. And at that point, you know, if you can calm yourself down, which is the goal at that moment, once you've calmed down, you can take a look at your situation, and then you can respond as opposed to that. Like when someone talks to you and they're so disrespectful, and they're, you know, you have a choice. You can react to them, and then it kind of escalates from there, and it could become very dangerous in the right conditions, believe it or not. That's a conundrum, the right conditions. In the wrong conditions, I don't know. All I know is that because I took that moment to step away, I had that peace of advice from this book, it allowed me to stop that hamster from running around. And I laid down and I calmed my body down. I calmed my brain down. And because of that, I was able to kind of like look at the situation. First of all, ignore the folk who are texting me who are not being helpful at all. They're just triggering me. So I stopped communication at that point with them for that day. And it was actually kind of late at night. And so I got my laptop open and I Googled, how can I get help with the heating oil? And while we're at it, how am I supposed to help put food on the table in here? I'm not working. What do I qualify for? And this is, I was 56 years old, 57 actually, and not qualifying for much at all. And because I hadn't worked, I couldn't do SSDI. I think it's SSDI. Yeah, I didn't qualify for that. And that's something out there for any of you who are stay-at-home moms, stay-at-home dads. If you're not earning money and something comes along and it disables you, you don't have much help with that at all. So I took a step back and I was able, though, to actually find solutions. I signed up for, I don't know what it's called at the top of my head, but it's basically in the area that I live in, and I think it's actually throughout the entire United States, there's help out there for heating oil or or electricity, I think. And then I applied for food stamps and cash benefits, and I'm trying to think of what else. I think that was it at the time. I was truly trying to function, and it truly was not working, though. And so I had to keep coming back to that. You have a choice. And the beauty about choice is, I wrote this down so I wouldn't forget, is that if you choose to stay in a chaos response, in full-fledged reaction, then you're not going to be able to use your brain in a logical way. You don't want to function while you're in that instinctive, I need to run away and save you brain, because it doesn't really help you. You need to have that calm. And so if you can step back away from it, then you can kind of detach away from it, where you're not having any emotion to it. Or if you are, it's very minimal, and you can continue to try to really kind of control that and keep it as a response rather than a reaction. It's not easy. The good thing about that, though, is that when you are able to start thinking with response, you can actually help yourself like I did. You can go online and find out what's out there to help you in that kind of situation. The thing with choice is that it gives you a creative perspective. You're able to step back and, use creation. Creation in my case was opening up my laptop and Googling how to help someone who needs help with, food and heating oil and whatnot. And when you have that creative perspective, it allows you to transform and potentially solve your problem, or at the beginnings of solving your problem. And the thing with choice is that it can change chaos into new possibilities, or possibility. You may not be able to change your external circumstance, like maybe you're homeless right now, or maybe you're separated from your spouse, or I don't know. There's so many things out there that we could potentially have an issue with, be challenged by. But when you can accept that you can't change your external circumstances, you can change how you respond. And responding is a choice. Choice is power, and power is freedom. And that is very, very encouraging when you constantly are living in that functional freeze, when you realize that you have a choice to stay in whatever area you're at. I mean, it's so hard when you're feeling dark emotions. You feel anxious or depressed or hopeless. The thing is one of the things I've learned is that we are not truly alone. Maybe in a physical sense, but if you can, it's my understanding, and it's my faith that we are souls in a body and not a body with a soul, and that we can communicate with our higher soul and angels and guardian angels and spirit guides and our loved ones even. And I'm not quite completely on that road just yet because I have a lot to learn. But I've learned a lot in this past 3.5 years on choice. I can sit here in a recliner all day and feel sad. And sometimes I still have to do that. Out of 7 days out of a week, there are at least 3 of them where I'm barely functioning. But that is actually an improvement. And sometimes it takes a long time. And the other thing that you have is the choice to give you self-compassion, self-empathy, and self-love. You are loved. You're loved by so much and so many, even though you feel alone, but you're not. I'm here to show that you're not alone. And with that, I think that, you have to, I need to think about what I want to say, and that, I'm going to have to start scripting this kind of thing because I don't want to kind of run off into this little thought thing that I just ran into just now. But keep coming back. I have stories to tell. And with these stories, it's my hope that you can grasp something of it. I'm not a professional in any way. I don't know. I'm not a therapist. I'm not a psychologist. I don't know how to be a guru or to be any kind of life coach whatsoever. All I know is that I find that I needed to start this channel. And maybe it's part helping me, for sure, letting my story out to be seen, to be heard. But maybe it could help you. And if it does, even if it's just one person, then I'm very grateful. And when somebody comes on and they'll say, I love you, I love you. I used to feel like, what? They don't love me. How could they love me? They don't know me. How? Because you learn that we're all souls and we're all part of the one, the universe. And whether you call that God, Buddha, or whatever, we are all part of that. When we are not in these bodies, we exist as that energy. And that energy is completely love. And we're all little fractals of love. And when we love ourselves, we love everyone, even the not so great people out there, the not so great anything. Love is the answer. So come back, listen to what I have to say, and maybe you can take something from it. Or maybe you know somebody who can take something from it. I don't expect this to be like some viral thing that goes off there, but that's not my goal. My goal is just to even help one person. And it's kind of like the pebble in the pond. You create the ripples. And if it goes on long enough, those ripples gain energy, and the energy becomes waves. And that's why I have awakening waves. So you are loved, and I love you. And I hope and pray and that you'll come back. And maybe you'll hit subscribe, and maybe you'll hit like, and grow this channel so that more and more people can see it, so that we can help more and more people. And leave a comment, but be nice. I don't need negative comments. And it's not like your negativity is going to affect me, because it won't. Because I don't react anymore. I choose to respond. And by responding, by making the choice to respond, I have power. And that power is freedom from negativity. So, at that note, we're all done. Take care and be safe and be well and know you are loved.